The sky held a deceptive calm on November 19, 1977, a day that would forever be etched in aviation history for all the wrong reasons. TAP Portugal Flight 425, a Boeing 727, was making its final approach to Madeira Airport. Madeira Airport, known for its short runway on a cliff, posed a significant challenge. Little did they know their journey would end in one of Portugal's deadliest aviation disasters. Nestled amidst the Atlantic Ocean, Madeira's volcanic peaks pierce the sky, its lush greenery cascading to azure waters. Madeira Airport, carved into the rugged coastline, is a testament to human ingenuity. The runway, perched on a cliff, presents unique challenges for pilots. Precision landings and takeoffs are demanded. Crosswinds and changing weather add complexity. Passengers feel awe and apprehension as they approach. Flight 425 embarked from Brussels, carrying a diverse group of passengers eager to experience Madeira. The Boeing 727 soared over Europe, its wings carrying hopes and dreams. The journey took the flight over France and Spain, transforming landscapes below. A stopover in Lisbon offered a brief respite for passengers and crew. As the aircraft was refueled, anticipation grew for the sunny beaches of Madeira. Little did they know, the final stretch would be the most perilous. A test of human skill against nature's forces awaited them. As Flight 425 approached Madeira, the island emerged from the Atlantic like a jewel. The volcanic peaks, shrouded in mist, hinted at the island's fiery origins. But on this fateful day, the island's beauty concealed a sinister secret. The skies were shrouded in a thick curtain of rain and fog. Heavy rain lashed down, reducing visibility to a dangerous minimum. Strong crosswinds buffeted the aircraft, testing the pilot's skill. The short runway, perched on the cliff edge, demanded absolute precision. Section 3, a cockpit under pressure, facing the elements. Inside the cockpit of Flight 425, the atmosphere was tense but controlled. Captain Costa and his crew, experienced aviators all, were acutely aware of the challenges posed by Madeira's weather and the airport's notorious reputation. The instruments flickered, conveying the gravity of the situation, the readings testament to the treacherous conditions outside. The relentless rain hammered against the cockpit windows, obscuring their view and adding to the pressure. The roar of the wind, amplified by the howling gusts, made communication difficult, each word exchanged between the crew members a testament to their training and composure. Captain Costa, his face etched with concentration, wrestled with the controls, battling to keep the aircraft steady amidst the turbulence. The co-pilot, his eyes darting between the instruments and the rain-streaked windshield, relayed critical information, his voice betraying the tension in the cockpit. The flight engineer, a master of the aircraft systems, monitored the engines and systems, ensuring they were performing optimally under the extreme stress. Every decision made in those critical moments, every adjustment to the aircraft's course, would have life or death consequences for the 164 souls on board. The crew of Flight 425, facing one of the most challenging landings of their careers, were forced to rely on their training, experience, and perhaps a degree of luck, as they attempted to guide the aircraft through the treacherous skies and onto the unforgiving runway of Madeira Airport. Section 1, a moment of truth, the decision to land. As Flight 425 descended through the turbulent skies towards Madeira Airport, the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Captain Costa's shoulders. The instruments before him painted a grim picture-heavy rain, fog reducing visibility to a bare minimum, and treacherous crosswinds buffeting the aircraft. The decision that lay before him was one of the most critical he would ever make. Attempt a landing in these perilous conditions or divert to a safer airport. The pressure was immense. His years of experience told him that landing at Madeira in such weather was a risky proposition, a gamble with the lives of his passengers and crew. Yet, diverting to another airport would mean delays, logistical challenges, and the disappointment of the passengers eager to reach their destination. The clock was ticking, fuel was a finite resource, and the weather showed no signs of abating. Inside the cockpit, the tension was palpable. The air crackled with the static of radio communications as the crew exchanged terse messages, their voices betraying the gravity of the situation. Captain Costa, his gaze flickering between the instruments and the rain-streaked windshield, weighed his options. The lives of 164 souls rested on his shoulders, his decision in those crucial moments shaping the destiny of Flight 425. Section 2, Battling the Elements, a descent into chaos. Captain Costa, after careful consideration and consultation with his crew, made the fateful decision to attempt a landing. The alternative, diverting to another airport, carried its own set of risks, given the dwindling fuel reserves and the unpredictable weather patterns. The Boeing 727, buffeted by the wind, began its final descent, a controlled fall through a curtain of rain and fog. The airport's runway lights, faint glimmers in the gray abyss, offered a beacon of hope, a target amidst the chaos. The passengers, strapped into their seats, would have felt the aircraft lurch and sway, the turbulence a visceral reminder of the forces at play outside the confines of the cabin. Each gust of wind, each pocket of turbulence tested the limits of the aircraft's stability, pushing the crew to the edge of their abilities. Inside the cockpit, the atmosphere was electric, a blend of focused determination and mounting anxiety. The instruments, their readings fluctuating wildly, provided a constant stream of data, each piece analyzed, each anomaly assessed. Captain Costa, his grip on the controls firm, fought to maintain control of the aircraft, his every action a testament to his years of training and experience. The co-pilot, his eyes glued to the instruments, called out altitude, airspeed and wind shear readings, his voice a steady counterpoint to the cacophony outside. The final approach was a delicate dance with the elements, a battle against the unforgiving forces of nature. Touching down, the grip of a rain-soaked runway. The Boeing 727, its wings slicing through the rain-laden air, emerged from the fog, the runway lights suddenly closer, the ground rushing up to meet them. Captain Costa, his senses heightened, initiated the landing sequence, a carefully choreographed series of actions honed through years of practice. The wheels, their rubber slick from the rain, made contact with the runway, the impact reverberating through the cabin. A collective sigh of relief, however, was quickly replaced by a surge of terror. The aircraft, instead of decelerating as expected, continued to hurtle down the runway at an alarming speed. The rain, relentless in its downpour, had transformed the runway into a treacherous waterway, the water reducing the tire's grip and hampering the effectiveness of the brakes. The aircraft, like a runaway train, skidded along the slick surface, the pilots battling to regain control, their efforts hampered by the treacherous conditions. Inside the cabin, panic began to set in. Passengers, their initial relief giving way to fear, gripped their armrests, their eyes wide with apprehension. The roar of the engines, struggling to counteract the aircraft's momentum, filled the air, a deafening symphony of power and desperation. The runway, once a symbol of hope, a gateway to safety, had transformed into a treacherous path, the rain-soaked surface conspiring against their efforts to bring the aircraft to a halt. Beyond the runway's edge, a tragedy unfolds. The Boeing 727, despite the valiant efforts of the crew, continued its uncontrolled slide, the end of the runway approaching with terrifying speed. Captain Costa, his face etched with a mixture of determination and despair, realized the horrifying truth: they were not going to stop in time. The aircraft, its momentum unstoppable, careened off the end of the runway, the impact jolting the passengers violently, their screams swallowed by the screeching metal and the roar of the engines. The plane, no longer bound by the constraints of the runway, plunged over the edge of the cliff, the ground falling away with terrifying speed. The impact, when it came, was brutal. The aircraft, its once sleek fuselage now a mangled wreck, slammed into the rocky embankment below, the force of the collision sending shockwaves through the cabin. Metal shrieked, windows shattered, and the smell of aviation fuel filled the air, a toxic perfume signaling impending disaster. For some, death would have been instantaneous, their lives extinguished in the blink of an eye. For others, a horrifying new reality would set in, trapped amidst the wreckage, injured, disoriented, and facing the terrifying prospect of fire. The crash of Flight 425 was not a single cataclysmic event, but a series of horrifying moments, each one etching itself into the annals of aviation history. A moment of impact. The bridge gives way. The Boeing 727, now a projectile with dwindling momentum, smashed into the bridge with a sickening crunch of metal against concrete. The impact, a symphony of destruction, reverberated across the island, a sound that would forever be etched in the memories of those who heard it. The bridge, a concrete artery connecting two sides of a ravine, was no match for the sheer force of the crashing plane. Its supports, designed for vehicular traffic, crumbled under the weight of the mangled fuselage, sending chunks of concrete and twisted metal plummeting into the depths below. Inside the cabin, the impact was catastrophic. Passengers, their bodies tossed about like rag dolls, were slammed against seats, overhead compartments, and each other with bone-jarring force. The lights flickered, then died, plunging the cabin into darkness punctuated by sparks and the eerie glow of emergency lighting. The smell of jet fuel, acrid and overpowering, filled the air, a harbinger of the inferno to come. The fuselage, its structural integrity compromised, began to break apart, ripping open like a discarded toy. Sections of the cabin, their interiors exposed to the elements, offered a fleeting glimpse of the carnage outside before being swallowed by the growing darkness. For those who survived the initial impact, a terrifying new reality set in. Trapped amidst the wreckage, their bodies battered and bruised, they faced the daunting task of survival, their senses overwhelmed by the cacophony of crashing metal, the cries of the injured, and the growing heat of the flames. Chaos and carnage, the wreckage burns. Flames engulfed the wreckage, casting an eerie glow. First responders battled the inferno, racing against time. A desperate struggle, survivors emerge. Survivors, battered and bruised, stumbled from the wreckage. First responders rushed to save lives amidst the chaos. The official inquiry? Piecing together the puzzle. Investigators meticulously documented the crash site. Black boxes held vital clues to the disaster. Human error, a fatal miscalculation. Captain Costa's decision to land in treacherous weather was fatal. The short runway and adverse conditions compounded the tragedy. A legacy of change. The aftermath of tragedy. The crash prompted significant safety improvements at Madeira Airport. The runway was extended, enhancing safety for future flights. Enhanced safety protocols, a shift in aviation culture. Stricter guidelines and improved communication systems were implemented. Pilot training focused on decision-making under pressure. Remembering the victims, a legacy of remembrance, a memorial was erected near the crash site. Annual services honor the victims and their legacy. Madeira Airport today, a testament to resilience. The airport underwent a remarkable transformation. Modernization and safety enhancements made it a state-of-the-art facility. The enduring lessons of Flight 425. The crash underscored the importance of learning from past mistakes. Enhanced safety protocols and training were implemented globally. A legacy of safety, honoring the past, embracing the future. The crash ignited a determination to create a safer aviation world. The legacy of Flight 425 continues to shape aviation safety.